It's grandson of right thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light. Grab your Bibles, turn to Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13. We're going to start there today. This message is going to be about the defect of Abba's people. So if you are part of Abba's people, then you have to be aware of this defect, or the defect will affect you negatively. It will hinder your life. It will be a hindrance to your life. This defect. Everyone knows that Abba's people are called Israel. Israel has a distinct defect. We're going to read about it now. So like I said, we can all be aware. All no longer be destroyed for lack of knowing this. See, wouldn't it be wise if you were a warrior or a fighter, which you are, wouldn't it be wise that you understood your weaknesses? We know you live in a world where people like to focus on your strengths. Oh man, you got a great right hand, man. All you need to do is focus on throwing that right hand. You'll win every fight. Okay. Tell that to the bronze bomber then. It's wise to focus on your weaknesses. The things you do well, you don't have to practice. You don't need to strengthen a muscle that's already strong. But the area where you struggle, or the area and when you or where you are weak at, that's what needs the practice. That's what needs the strengthening, so that it can become strong and there's no schism in the body. The body is strong all over, 100%. You see? Matthew chapter 13. We'll start at verse 54. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence hath this man this wisdom and these mighty works? Stop. So first of all, who are we talking about here? We're talking about Yahusha. Yahusha came into his own country. You notice those words there? So was he somewhere foreign? Remember, we're talking about a defect of God's people here, remember? Was he somewhere foreign or in a foreign land? Did he go somewhere where people different than him resided? Or like the scriptures say, did he come into his own? It said his own country. Now, what did Yahusha forewarn you about a prophet? One of the marks of a true prophet is what? That he will be without honor in his own country, own hometown, own kin. You see? You see that? So notice it says, his own country. He came there and he taught them and they were astonished. You see? He's one of us. How is he able to do these miraculous, wonderful things that he's doing? Because that's what y'all are. But since they don't know that's what they are, they don't believe that's what they are, then when they see the truth of what they are, they reject it. He came unto his own, and his own knew him not. You see the defect here? Self-belief. What you think you are is defective. That's why Yahusha came. Abba's name is I am. If you're sinning, that's what you're sinning against. Don't take that name in vain. But since Israel seems to think I am is horrible, and I am is struggling, and I am is broke, and I am is starving, and I am is all of these horrible, nasty, terrible things, then when they see somebody believing great things about themselves that look like them, that dress like them, talk like them, walk like them, they say, well, if you're me, then you ain't shit because I'm not shit. You see the defect? Instead of being happy that one of your own has wisdom that astonishes you, you get offended by it. Let's see. Let's see if that's what they got. Or whether they were proud of Yahusha, their own, who had this miraculous power upon him. They said, where did this man get this wisdom in these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Hear that there? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brethren James and Joseph, and Simon and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? So Yahushua had a whole family, like I've been telling you guys. Mother, father, sisters, brothers. We just read it, and they even said their names. So Yahushua had all of that. And his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then has this man all these things? How did he get all of this? We know his family. We know the rest of his tribe. They're not like him. So then, how did he get like that? See? And they were offended in him. Verse 57. See there? So all of that thinking they were doing, the end result of all that thinking was what? The conclusion of it was that they were offended. Who does this nigga think he is? Isn't that what they're saying? I mean, isn't that what they're saying? Who does this guy think he is? We know his mother, know his family, we know where he came from, we know his roots. So what in the hell do you think he doing? But they were offended in him. But Yahushua said unto them, here's what I was reminding you of earlier, a prophet is not without honor, which means he's honored everywhere he goes, save, except his own country and his own house. So you're talking about, don't we know Mary and James and Joseph and his sisters and everybody around him? Don't we know all of them? He says, they don't honor me and you don't honor me. I don't have honor here because I'm a prophet. A prophet doesn't have honor in his own hometown. He doesn't have honor amongst his family. So if you were to go to his family of a prophet and ask the family about that prophet, they would have interesting things to say about that man. They would say, well, he's weird. He's strange. He's talking about God this and God that and the spirit this, spirit that. But look at his life. Nigga struggling. Nigga be asking me for money. Nigga living on the street. Yeah, we grew up together. We used to play tag and everything together. But that nigga went off on the deep end somewhere along the way. I don't know. Look like he rejected by God to me. He's crazy. He's angry. You see? He's a tattletale. That's what your family members are going to say about you. You're wasting your life. You're wasting your talents and skills. That's what they'll say about their own brother, about their own son. Because he doesn't have honor with them. That's what Yahushua told you. And how do I know? Because I've experienced it. That's how I know what they'll say about you. Because I've heard it said about me. By my own kin. By my own mother. My own father. Yes, my own flesh and blood parents sat me down and said, are you a prophet? Just telling you from experience. Can't make anything up. And that's what they're going to tell you. Things that are dishonorable. That's what they're going to tell other people about you. You see? And when you say things like, we're holy, we're God's elect, they're going to laugh at you and scorn you and make fun of you and say you're out your mind. Didn't they say, Christ's family say that he was out of his mind? See what I'm trying to explain to you? Right then. So, verse 58. And he did not many mighty works there because of what? Because of their unbelief. Did y'all hear that? And did you hear it good? So he couldn't do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Now that may sound strange because you're hearing it and saying, well, what you're saying is Yahushua's power or God's power is limited by our faith or faithlessness, perverseness, sin, in other words, wrong thinking. The wrong thoughts in your mind limit Abba's power from working because all things are possible. You can only limit that all things are possible by believing in your mind that something is impossible. That limits God's ability to show you, well, not his ability, but it limits his showing you, you see, that it is possible. Because he will show you it's possible. But if you don't believe it is, then as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You've limited him. Well, the same thing we just read. That's the reason why I'm saying that. That's the same thing we just read. Christ could not do many mighty works in his own hometown and amongst his own people and his own kin because of their unbelief. So then if somebody is sent from the Father and you believe by faith that that's true, then you will get the mighty works and you will get the benefits of the blessing that's upon that person and the anointing that's upon that person's life. But if you don't believe that they are who they are, you won't receive the blessings. You will limit them. You will limit your blessings because of your unbelief. Them not believing that Yahushua was Yahushua didn't change the fact that he was who he was. But if you don't believe I am, then as you think, so is your situation. Then you believe that you're desolate and without, you see? So I can't do many mighty works there. Hope you hear that there. Go to the book of Psalm. Go to Psalm 78. Watch how we're going to connect these dots here. See how this defect affects our lives as Israelites. Thinking wrong, what it does for us. It limits the power of God in our life. So what makes it limitless? Faith does. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, see what I'm trying to explain to you? So if you have faith, what happens? You shall say to this mountain, in other words, you shall speak over an impossible situation and make what you want it possible. If you simply believe, like I've just explained to you, it's contingent upon your belief. Isn't it? The inhabitants of Christ's hometown and his home country, could they benefit from what Christ was offering them? It said they didn't benefit. Why? Because of their unbelief. If you do not believe that I am he, then you shall die in your sin. You're wrong thinking. Because I'm not lying. That's the only point. I hope you can hear that today. I've told you guys this before. Same thing I would say about myself. That if you don't believe I am who I am and that I'm sent to you, then you're going to die in your wrong thought. And it's not because of anything about me other than the fact that I'm just telling you the truth. So if I tell you the truth and you tell me I'm lying, well then how can you be saved? You see what I'm explaining to you? You're not. You're going to die in wrong thought about what the truth is. Because if you can't see me in the truth of what I'm telling you, then how can you see Christ? If they have kept my word, they will keep your word. See? You can't play around with us over here because we're locked tight. We really are. That's what happens when you cleave and you become one with. Then there's no difference between the two. So if you believe Christ is all powerful and you believe you are one with him, then what does that say about you? Then you'll say those words that truly are true. Like he said, truly, truly, I say unto you. You'll be able to say that now because now you know the truth that made you free. I am. That's the truth that sets a man free. I am the way. That's what Christ said. I am the truth. I am the life. So when you find yourself in a situation where you're speaking death over I am, then that's the circumstances that you'll experience. But if you're speaking life over that name, then you'll experience those circumstances. All you need is a little faith so that you can think the right thoughts and feel the right feelings and get out of your circumstance and make that mountain move. You see that? Psalm 78, verse 40. How often did they provoke him in the wilderness? Talking about God's people provoking God in the wilderness. You see? How often did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Exclamation point there, isn't it? So do you understand that? That's how you feel when your kid keep grieving you over the same damn thing every day. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I know your ass is hungry. I know it. Before you ask me, I know what you have need of. Who that sound like? Sound like your father? Or does that sound like you, father, talking to your children? Okay, then. You see? I know what you need. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I know. Just chill out. I'm going to make you some lunch. 15 minutes later, you didn't get done with your report yet. You're starting to get done with work and then make the kids lunch. He comes back in there. I'm hungry. I heard you. Okay? I heard you the first time, buddy. I'm going to get you something. Just chill out for about 10 more minutes till dad get done. Okay. Runs out the room. Come back. Dad, my sandwich. Okay, son, look. Y'all hear me today? That's grieving, Abba. Why do you not believe I'm going to feed you, son? Wouldn't you say that to your son who don't believe you? I don't believe you're going to take care of me, Dad. That would grieve the shit out of you because you know the intents of your heart. You know the thoughts you have for your son. Read the Bible, read what God says about you. I know the thoughts that I have for you. They're beyond your imagination what I have planned for you. But you doubt that? You don't think I'll even give you a damn sandwich when you're hungry? That's what you think I think about you, son. See how my voice gotta get all high-pitched like this? Because that's how Israelites talk when they be shocked about some shit. We be like, what? That's how Abba is. What you talking about? I ain't gonna take care of you. But they grieved him, and they said they did it often. Yep, they turned back and tempted El and limited and limited and limited and limited the Holy One of Israel. Okay? And we ain't talking about no limited edition. They limited the Holy One of Israel. You hear what I'm trying to say to you today? So did Yahushua get limited in his hometown? Is that what you read? See how the Bible goes together so beautifully? Love the word. I love it. I love it. I want more of it. Okay? Love it, and want more of it. Gotta have it. Because it's wonderful how it just goes together like a beautiful tapestry. Ain't that how y'all feel when y'all see a beautiful painting that a talented artist has painted? Well, that's how I feel about what Mob has painted. I marvel over it. You see? They turned back. What's the word turn back mean? What that mean about you and your life as an Israelite? That means you had a good thought. You were starting to feel good, but then you saw something and you got nervous and you turned away from that right thought and you turned to wrong thought. I'm free. Then the Red Sea comes. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I'm trapped. See how you took the Lord's name in vain right there? You're not trapped just because it looks that way. So feel the feelings that you would have felt had you got what you wanted. What would that feeling be? You'd be like joy, gladness. What does Christ tell you to feel? Be of good cheer. Rejoice and be glad. So why do you think he tells you that? They remembered not his hand, see, nor the day when he delivered them. Delivered means to save. Yasha. When he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zon, and had turned their rivers into blood and their floods that they could not drink. You see that? And it goes on and on about how he destroyed their enemies, and they just forgot about that. I know that happened that day, but how do I know it's going to happen today? Because it happened that day. If God provided that day, why wouldn't he provide today? Why wouldn't he? If he's an ever-present help, why would he stop being an ever-present help when he doesn't change? See how right thought is? It pin your shit to the wall. Y'all just got to understand making love, and then you understand why thoughts are that way. Right thoughts come in and they pin your feelings down on the bed, and they make love until she gives her that damn child. She gives him that child. It's called passion, zeal. A lot of people don't like this word. Jealousy for your bride. This is mine. How to demonstrate that she's yours more than making love to her, passionately, and ravishing her. How else do you show her that she's yours? Okay then. Well, that's what your thoughts need to do. They need to penetrate your feelings. You can think a right thought, but if it doesn't penetrate your feelings, then the thief is going to come through and penetrate your feelings. Your wife, that is. What do I mean? Didn't I tell you about the Red Sea? That's another man trying to penetrate your wife. That's what it means. Trying to sell her an opposite thought of being safe and secure. Uh-oh, I'm no longer safe. That's an opposite thought. Now, if your feelings start to feel the feelings that match that thought, now you're one with it. You're an adulterous woman. And you're faithless. And you're perverted. But you don't understand spiritual lovemaking. So you don't understand what you're doing. You don't know you're cheating. You don't know you're committing adultery when you're listening to that damn lie. Always trying to talk about your life is going to be lost. That's all it ever talks about. How you're going to die, how you're going to lose out, how you're going to fail, and how you're going to suffer. That's all it ever sells you. And the only reason you believe that shit is because of how things look to you. That's it. That's the only reason you believe it, is because of how things look. See that today? Now, go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 3. Let's keep going with this thing. Book of Hebrews, chapter 3. All right? I'm going to start at verse 14. So now what have we seen so far? We saw how Yahushua said because of the dishonor that a prophet will receive among his own, they won't believe him or have faith that he's there to do the things that he's there to do. So then he can't do it because they're limiting him, which we just confirmed with Psalm. That when you doubt God's power, you're limiting God's power. Your doubt limits him. It handcuffs him. He doesn't like that. You see? You see? He doesn't want you that way. Hebrews chapter 3. You notice talk to the same people. Hebrews, see? For we are made partakers of Christ, verse 14, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. So, do you hear that there? What makes you a partaker with Christ? Your faith does. You're holding on to what you desire despite how it looks. You steadfastly hold on to what you desire until the end of it. See, he who endures to the end shall be saved. Endures how? Mentally. Because when the scripture says he shall wear out the saints, that word wear out means mentally to wear them out. To bog them down with stress, to make them think about their lives so much that they can't think about anything else, to put them in such a my situation that they can't see anybody else's life. They can't keep Abba's commandments to love their neighbor because they can't see their neighbor. They're too busy thinking about their life. And he told you don't think about your life. Take no thought for your life. So if you're taking thought for your life, then you're being rebellious and faithless. But see that? Just dropped my phone and cracked it. It's all good though. It's still working. Message still going. So we ain't worried about that little crack. It's about whether it work or not. Y'all hear that there? For some, when they had heard, oh wait, let's go back some. Whilst it is said today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts as in the provocation. So you see that? Harden not your hearts as in the provocation. Provoked him. Just like we read in Psalm. See? Provoked. Provoking him in the wilderness. You see that there? As in the day of provocation, which we just read about. He says, for some, when they had heard, did provoke. See? Howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses, but with whom was he grieved for 40 years? He said, out of the people that came out of Egypt, who out of those people was he grieved with? Let's see. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? So what was sin? Faithlessness, doubt, unbelief. That's the sin. People tell you all kind of shit is sin. I'm telling you the truth of what it is. It's having doubt. It's being faithless and perverted. Isn't it? Okay then. He says, verse 18, and to whom sware he that he should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not. See? So only Israelites that will not enter into God's rest are those who don't believe it, who don't have faith that there is a rest. So they don't have nothing to endure into the end mentally for. They don't have any thoughts that are there waiting for them to enter into. You see? If you knew at the end of this, you're going to have a mansion, a robe, and a crown, and you're going to sit there chilling, then what does it matter what happened in between? It doesn't. But your carnal mind wants you to think it does matter. You see? But it doesn't. He says, but to them that believe not. So we see that they could not enter in. Why? Because they didn't wear the right clothes? Because they didn't speak the right way? Because they didn't eat the right food or wear the right garments? Is that what it says? They could not enter in for unbelief. So we see, in other words, the total of the equation here, the sum of it is that we see that a nigga wrong thinking is his doubts. His faithlessness is what destroys him and don't allow him to enter into the rest that Abba's got for him. You see that there? Let's confirm this point. Let's confirm it. Romans chapter 9. Go to Romans chapter 9. Let's go to verse 31. But Israel, the same people I've been talking about this whole message, which are the elect people of God, see? The people with the defect of unbelief and faithlessness. You see? Those people. He says, but Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore? So they were trying to, but they couldn't attain it. Why? Because they sought it not by faith. Anything hard to understand about that? Because they sought it not by faith. Is that the same thing we've been reading? That's the defect? That's the issue? Yep, that's the issue, all right. He says, wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. 3D things. See? For they stumbled at that stumbling stone. Didn't say the law. It said the works of the law is where they stumbled. 3D. When they read the law, they interpreted it carnally. And that's what they stumbled at. It's not a carnal law. It's a spiritual law. It's to be kept spiritual. If it's not, then how come Yahushua prophesied that the true worshipers worship the Father in spirit and in truth? If it's about a location, if it's about a physical thing, it's about a physical work or a physical process. If it is, then how come he says they missed the mark? Not seeking it by faith. Faith is the substance of the thing hoped for, evidence that you're doing God's ways, not seen. Can you hear that today? Good and clear? Evidence not seen. So if I can see evidence, then that's not faith. You can try to make it seem like it is, but it ain't. It's not. Faith requires the evidence not to be seen. That's part of the definition of faith. That defines it. So then if somebody is doing it, can you see it? That's why he says, I'll show you my faith by my works. When you see faith, it's usually what a person's not doing proves their faith. I hope you can hear this wisdom today. I really hope you can. It's not what they're doing proves their faith. It's what they're not doing that proves their faith. I'll give you an example of what I mean. On the boat, the men thought they were all going to die because a storm had come up on the sea and it was very tumultuous and they thought they were going to perish. But Yahushua was asleep. So they were taking buckets of water, throwing it off and panicking and screaming. Yahushua was not. So that proves his faith. What he was not doing proved his faith. So what proves a man's faith? What works prove it? His not panicking. His fearlessness proves the work that he's doing inside of himself. Because that's the true work. It's dominating those thoughts that want to make him panic. It's dominating those thoughts that want to make him move and physically do something. He dominates that shit and spiritually does the work that matters, which is casting out the wicked thoughts and imaginations. Because as a man think, so is he. So then it's wise that I focus on what I'm thinking and I tend to my garden and I keep it. Y'all hear this today, little flock? Because that's what it's about, as you can see. As it's just been broken down for you today. No one is without excuses. They heard this message as to what the defect of the Israelite is. It's his faithlessness that he's loved. Abba said in Deuteronomy 7:6, I have loved thee. I have loved thee. Do you hear that today? But Israel says, wherein hast thou loved us? Because he has given you his son to mentally set you free, which is the truth. You don't need physical chains to be broke off your hands anymore. You don't need physical things to be removed. You need spiritual things to be removed. Spiritual hindrances, or as he said, principalities, powers, and high places that you're fighting against. That's who he said you're fighting against. And yet everybody's pointing fingers at other people, thinking that it's other people that they're fighting against. No, it ain't. Because you don't fight against flesh and blood. So I'm going to lie to you and tell you that you are when he said you're not? No, you're fighting against thoughts, buddy. Those are the other men you're fighting against, not flesh and blood men. You're fighting against thoughts. Because to God, thoughts are men and feelings are women. To God, because there is no male or female. So Yahushua said, why would he lie to you? See that today? So if you have ears to hear, I hope you greatly benefited from this, that it's about perverse faithlessness. Fighting against the truth that Abba has told you ahead of time. I have loved thee. Wherein have you loved us? Because I said I did. Now you want me to show you something to prove to you that I do. That's a wicked and adulterous generation that seeketh after a sign. Isn't that what he said? See how it's always about being adulterous? Adultery, cheating on God, is the 3D world. That's the world that God's not of. My kingdom is not of this world. Y'all don't want to accept that? It's not of this world. The 3D world is the world opposite of the world he told you to focus on. Don't think about eating. Don't think about what you wear. Don't think about 3D things. Don't think about that, because you got something more important than that to be focused on, which is the internal world. Because as a man thinks, so is he. So if I told my son, as a man thinks, so is he, and I wanted my son to have a prosperous life, a healthy life, a joyful life, a happy life, successful life, then what words would I plant into his head? I am successful. I am healthy. Because as you think that stuff, son, you will be it. I believe that by faith. So how do I prove my faith? By saying those words and believing those words. You can't see I'm believing it. You can't see that I'm locking it down in my feelings on the inside. You can't see it. All you can see is my calmness, my peace. And that proves what city I live in, not my location, not my demographic I reside in. That has nothing to do with it, because that's not his world. That's why he said they're not going to have to come to Jerusalem to worship. When they worship in spirit, they'll worship in the spiritual Jerusalem, at the spiritual Mount Zion. Did you read Hebrews? Hidden ones. That's right. Are you one of his hidden ones that they were trying to make war against, to cut you out of the 3D world so that you have no partaking in it? Well, what did he say? He said, I shall inherit. So you can fight and fuss and do all you want to do. When that flood come down, you're going to be taken in it, like the scripture says. Taken in that flood. The day Noah entered into the ark, they was going around drinking and eating and doing 3D things, in other words, what it means. Focusing on being happy in the 3D. Joyful in the 3D. Stacking up in the 3D. That's the whole world is doing that. Every day they're doing it. But you be not like unto them. Isn't that what he said? For these things the Gentiles seek after. But you seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness from his right thought. That's how you do it. You see? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, the kingdom of God and his righteousness. You see that there? How to think right. And if you seek that, then the rest will be added to you. If you say I am healthy, then the right food will be added to you. Then the right friends will be added to you. Then the right things you need to make you healthy will be added to your life, because you're saying the thing that matters most, which is I am healthy. Not my circumstance makes me healthy, but I am. You hear that today? So y'all be blessed today. Silawam Israel.